Let's get this party started quickly. Who remembers that? Am I aging myself? Okay, those are my times. All right, well, we are super excited to have everyone here today. Liz and I are actually still in a little bit of shock that this actually happened. We were talking about it for such a long time, and we were so excited about it for such a long time that we were, every step of the way, like, okay, we gotta do this, and then it's actually the day of, and we can't believe it, and we're super excited. So, first of all, we want to welcome you guys here. We want to welcome the audience. We want to welcome all our amazing speakers that are here and throughout the audience. And I want to give us a round of applause for showing up today. So this conference actually came about as many of us potentially have been in different animal rights conferences, vegan spaces, and felt that there was a bit of a lack in terms of the perspective of people of color, shedding light on issues that affect people of color within the vegan movement. And so we felt that an event of this nature was really important and very necessary. And so this was actually born like 2 years ago or something like that? 2014.
Yeah. That's actually when Linda and I actually met. We met at an animal rights conference. So,
Yes.
although we were Facebook friends.
After, yes.
Right. Well, we got like good friends after.
Yes. Especially after planning this conference, we have become.
Yeah, you either
hate each other or hate each other. So after that, it was that very conference that we said, after one of the panels specifically, that was cool, but it could be a little bit more on point, and we started kind of dreaming of this idea of creating a conference that was specific to people of color and the issues of people of color. So within the vegan movement. So here we are today.
Everyone's welcome.
Of course, everybody is welcome. Free space, safe space, inclusive space. That's how we roll. We are here today. We are really excited. We want to get started to not hold up the magic that's about to happen on this panel any longer. So she's going to give you some housekeeping stuff, and then we'll get started.
Okay. So first thing, no food in the theater. You can have water bottles, water containers, but they won't allow food. They actually have a police person around to make sure we don't do that. So anyway, so make sure we adhere to that.
I have bananas.
The theater police. The vegan police has the theater police today. So entrances, it's going to be on this side, and exit only on there. So don't enter on that side. And we have 2 people at the doors. Please put your phones on mute now. Thank you. Bathrooms are to the left side when you go out. Lunch is going to be 1 to 2. We're not serving any lunch. They're very restricted in the theater area. But there are vegan-friendly restaurants in the area that's less than a mile away. The only vegan restaurant is actually 20 minutes away, so I would strongly not advise you to go that far because you won't get back in time. So, and we want to make sure that we're not disturbing the speakers to have people coming late. So we really appreciate you being mindful of that.
And if you need to know where those places are, feel free to ask us or anybody wearing a staff thing should be able to help you find one around here.
Right. Now the full program is online, and we're trying to make it like a paperless sort of, zero waste or near to zero waste event. So we encourage you to go online and download the full program on the website so you can actually see where, actually no, it's not on there. It's in the email that I sent you all the ticket holders, it's in the email that I sent you all. So you have that, everybody has a phone, an iPad, and all that stuff. So make sure you look at those vegan-friendly restaurants if you need to leave. Let's see, we have a 20-minute break around 4:30, of which we will have bananas and nuts and all these things that vegans love. we also have, I know if I go anywhere else, they'll be like, where are the donuts? Where are they? So we have a compost bin, so we encourage you to use that as well, to put your bananas, and we have a whole bunch of peaches and so on. And we also have a recycle bin as well, so please don't put stuff in the trash that you know goes in the recycle bin. And that's on this side near the green tables. Just quickly again, questions, please keep your questions to questions, not a speech. If you want to talk, just email me and I can look you up and we can kind of talk about being a speaker. And that's it.
Okay.
So some people here are not vegan, some people here are vegetarian, and we want to make this a safe space for everyone. So please welcome everyone. We actually encourage non-vegans to come as well, so that we can encourage them. So just let them know that we are the loving, compassionate vegans that we say we are.
All right, so let's get started with our first panel, Vegan Gains, a Vegan Perspective on Health and Fitness. I'm sure most of you are familiar with our panelists here. I will briefly go over a little info on each one, just in case you're not, but you will be at the end of the panel. So David Carter, yay. UCLA grad, was drafted into the NFL in 2011 to the Arizona Cardinals. In his third season, after being released from the Dallas Cowboys, the physicality of the sport started taking a toll on his body. Looking for answers on how to heal his injuries, David sat down to watch the documentary Forks Over Knives. It was then he decided to surprise his vegan wife on Valentine's Day with the promise to switch to a compassionate lifestyle overnight. So thank you, Paige, for that. David is now more famously known as the 300-pound vegan and is using his platform to be a voice for animals, human health, and the planet. Most recently, David and his wife Paige have begun focusing on making the animal rights movement a more inclusive space for people of color. They now consult with nonprofit animal rights organizations to create and execute projects that introduce systematically underserved areas to plant-based lifestyles. So definitely check out the work that they're doing because it's amazing. Our next panelist here is Dominick Thompson. Dominick is a leader in the vegan community.
Dominick, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Dominick, you know, I'm from LA and Costa Rica, so
Checks me too, so.
Dominick, yes? Dominick, okay. Dominick is the leader in the vegan community and founder of Crazies and Weirdos, a successful New York-based startup company that produces hip, sustainable, eco-friendly clothing dedicated to the animal rights movement. He is also founder of Iron Brucal, a sports and fitness brand dedicated to the working professional with plans to open training facilities in 2018. He's a full-time executive in the healthcare industry where he develops and manages many critical relationships with hospital systems and other provider types in order to deliver services to communities in need throughout the eastern region of the U.S. Despite his rigorous schedule, at the core, he is still an activist as well as an athlete. Not just any athlete, but a working athlete whose weekly training schedule includes, this is amazing, cycling, swimming, running, calisthenics, boxing, CrossFit, cross-training, weight, and powerlifting. Wow. I walked from the parking lot to here this morning, so. He also competes year-round in 10 to 12 endurance races per year, including marathons, triathlons, and ultra races. Because of this and his assertive activism, Dominick has received global recognition and has been featured in NPR News, ABC News, Men's Muscle and Fitness Magazine, Esquire, Thrive Magazine, Origins Magazine, PETA, and more. His social media platform is strong and continues to grow while producing some of the most inspiring, impactful content to over, I think it's over 130,000 now, right? Probably a lot more than that. Followers. Okay, all right. Thank you, Dominique. And last but not least, Torre Washington. Torre is a National Academy of Sports Medicine certified coach and 6-time champion pro-competitive natural bodybuilder with pro cards in 4 distinct bodybuilding organizations. Raised vegetarian since birth and vegan since 1998, Torre built his physique entirely on a vegan diet without the aid of supplements. Torre's training style focuses on physical symmetry and aesthetics and has therefore become the most sought-after vegan bodybuilder internationally. Torre is the first vegan bodybuilder to be featured in GQ magazine in March 2016. Torre advocates for veganism to his global fan base and brings awareness to the plight of animals as well as the need to heal Mother Earth through living the vegan lifestyle. He has been awarded the Humane Hero Award by the Florida Humane League in 2016 for his animal advocacy. Awesome. Without further ado, let's get this panel going.
All right, isn't that fantastic? Talk about achievements. Wow. We have a hashtag over there. It's hashtag COVAC conference. So feel free to Twitter away. So I'm not going to do a lot of talking because this is your stage. So the first thing I'm going to ask is, and actually the 3 of you I want to answer, why did you become vegan? What does it mean to be plant-based for you? And does it also extend to not using animal products as what you wear, or shampoo, or things like that?
Alright, I'll start it out, I guess. Hi again, I'm David Carter. So why did I go vegan? I went vegan initially for health reasons, because like she said, I had issues. I had high blood pressure, tendinitis, early onset arthritis. They had me on high blood pressure medication, anti-inflammatory, painkillers. And I was only, 23 years old. So I was like, okay, I have to make a change, and I'm going to get some brownie points while I do it, so I'm going to go vegan and going down Thursdays, right? So I did that. So, definitely just everything went better for me after that. I lost some weight afterwards, that was the worst thing that happened to me because I was trying to stay at 300 pounds, so I went down to 260, and that was scary, and I figured out how to get my weight back up, and it was all good after that. But why do I go? Okay, so the depth of my veganism. So when I went vegan, before my wife was vegan, and she was already, not eating anything. She didn't do any milk or she was just vegan, but she wasn't vegan as far as like her clothing and stuff. But she still had bags, right? I don't want to give up my bags. And so I was like, and I wasn't vegan at the time, so I didn't care. But then when I went vegan, then I started learning everything. Like, man, how it's a rape culture that is when it comes to food and the materials that we use, like the leather and the milk and everything. Like we use in our soap, there's glycerin in the soap, and glycerin is animal fat, and it's like, why am I wanting to clean my hands and washing my hands with dead animal fat? That doesn't make any sense at all. What am I doing? And it's like, so we're just using these animals for no reason whatsoever. There's soap, there's nuts that you can make soap out of. Why are we using animal fat again? Why are we killing these animals? So, we sold our car. We had a big Escalade. We sold that. It had leather seats that heated up. And every time I sit down, I turn the heat heater on, and it's like, I'm heating up cow skin on my ass. It's gross. So we sold the car. We just got rid of the bags, everything. We're just like, cool. Like, we're just gonna be really vegan. We're gonna try to look good while we do it, and not look like super hippies. we're gonna do it. So, yeah, that's. And is there another question? Did I answer everything?
No, you did. Yeah, great.
That's enough.
So what's your story, Torre? Dominick.
Oh, we get confused so much.
By the way, just so you guys know, I am seriously dyslexic. So don't take it personal when I start switching things around.
This is totally okay. Yeah, you know, it's a lot of different ways I can talk about this, but you know, I know we're pressed for time. But yeah, I initially went vegetarian for animals. You know, I thought back in that day when I was 22, this is 15, 16 years ago, we didn't have the information that we have now about dairy and eggs and stuff like that. I actually was pretty much vegan, but I didn't have a problem with eating slices of piece and stuff like that. So when I went vegetarian for animals, I cut meat out specifically for animals. I didn't do it for health reasons. But, you know, if you want to know about the health side of it, I went from being close to, you know, I was about 250 pounds, and now what you see up here is 190, solid muscle. You know, I was a husky dude, like David. I played football. Never made it to the NFL because I had a severe injury, but I did have a lot of, achieved a lot on the field for sure. But, you know, so I cut out meat and stuff like that. And then fast forward, you know, into 6 years ago, we started getting information through the wonderful world of the internet, where you'll see all this information concerning what's happening to these cows being raped, to these chicks and chickens and stuff like that. And I want to point this out. You know, I didn't go vegan because of this film, but this film really set me off into that hardcore, no nonsense, let me educate people about why we need to stop eating meat. And that's the film called Earthlings. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it, but that film really hit me right here. You know, it's just like, wow. You know, it was one of those things that really blew my mind. But yeah, so, you know, I stopped eating meat when I was 22. I used to fight with my mom when I was a kid. She used to feed me chicken wings. I used to early on push it back to her. I felt like I was eating little arms and stuff like that. So she had a workaround, and she'll feed me fish sticks and chicken breasts where I just didn't have to see that cartilage and those veins and stuff like that. So early on, I would push back with her. She can tell you that story. But yeah, as far as when it comes to clothing and fabrics, I'm totally against it. You know, like most vegans, I had stuff in my closet. But once I learned what was happening, I got rid of it. You know, and I started shopping smart and shopping with brands that produce synthetic materials or eco-friendly materials. There's not enough on the market, unfortunately, and that's why I formed Crazies and Weirdos, so we can produce eco-friendly clothing that's from recycled and organic materials. So, you know, so that's a little bit of my story. Like I said, I know we pressed on time.
I feel like I got 5 minutes. My name is Torre Washington, and I was raised vegetarian, as you heard, raised vegetarian from birth, and that came about because of my mother's choice of religious beliefs. She was a Seventh-day Adventist, and the Seventh-day Adventist religion, they are really adamant about the health message. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't live that health message today. Today, we still are into eating different things, and we just figure, oh, God will bless it and it'll be fine. So, going through that stage of my life, actually, my background is Jamaican, so I have a Jamaican heritage. I got interested in, really into the school of thought that's called Rastafarian. And Rastafarian is really not religion, but it's more of a lifestyle. Ital, natural way of living. So the thing about Rasta is, I was around a lot of different Rastas who really didn't practice the lifestyle in the sense of being truly Ital. To me, Ital, if it's going to be natural, you're going to definitely be up the earth.
Oh, I hear that accent coming out. You guys
Yeah,
hear
sorry. The code switch, sorry about that. But,
I'll probably do it too.
so, it really transcended, because I went to Tuskegee University, and of course a lot of learning and doing different things. But before I went to Tuskegee, anyways, as a Rasta, I wanted to be truly not hypocritical. Because if you're ITAL, you gotta be ITAL. You have to be fully. And so Rastas will still eat chicken and fish. And in parts of Jamaica, you know, Hellshire Beach, the Rastas that lived there, they were fishermen. And so as a fisherman, they would still eat fish. So I decided to cut that all out. And I cut that out in '98, and I didn't even know it was vegan. I didn't know what it was called. It was just, I wanted to be of the earth, eating straight, directly from the ground, because I've been used to that. And it wasn't really a major switch for me. It was a light switch I just flipped on, and that was it. I cut everything out, and it was no problem. And as far as taking it further, as you understand, me learning about vegan and the label, I don't like labels, but I understand that for people to kind of understand what you're doing, they need a label to kind of categorize. That's why I said me and David get along, because a lot of things we can talk about later. But, so the label vegan, then understanding that and see, but
I know, huh? Yeah.
I took that and decided to go further, because learning more about the animal industry, learning about, and I worked in the car industry, and a lot of times, I know they market it as leather, it's actually not. It's usually synthetic leather, because the car makers don't want you to know that, because they want you to pay extra money for leather. So I learned a lot about that, and you know, into my clothing, I had to, like Dom was saying, smart shop, understanding, learning about the glycerin and soap and things of that nature. So it's just a learning process, and I think I'm glad that we talked about that in the beginning, about the people who are not vegan, who are vegetarian still, is to treat them with compassion, because a lot of you, I meet vegans who are vegan for 6 months and they have hostility to someone else, and but you can't have that. You just turned vegan, really? Come on.
One of the things that drew me to Torre was that he's a bodybuilder, and obviously the body is the focus. You're looking in the mirror a lot. But I found that the way he presented himself was not, I didn't get that it was about his body. I got that it was about his philosophy and his mind. And I think that's very powerful. It's really
Thank you.
Yeah. So, breaking male stereotypes. We know you guys have a massive female following. So, I know, right? But when it comes to your interaction with men, do you feel, because obviously that's an issue in this culture with regards to it being like I had a friend of mine who said, you know, I'd love to go vegan, but, you know, I can't tell my friends, kind of thing, because apparently it actually challenges his masculinity in that sense. So, as men, how do you feel that you are a role model with regards to being a man, with regards to your maleness, and do you get any pushback or compliments with regards to men saying, wow, I'm glad you're here because, you know, I may feel pressure. Do you get that experience?
So when I first did a competition, you know, of course, as you mentioned, bodybuilding. And bodybuilding is very much inundated with animal protein and whey protein. You have to drink shakes and this and that makes you build muscle and you look like this physique on stage. When I did my first show, they have to write a profile, and they explain this profile during a routine. And so during the routine, they said vegan, but it kind of just glanced over. Of course, you know, people are like, okay. And so after the competition, after I blew it away, people came up, sorry, I just had to people came up to me after, men, and said, man, I didn't know you were vegan, because I didn't think you could look like that and be vegan.
Yeah, awesome.
So it happens often. I don't get pushback, I get more so they can't believe that you can be vegan and do it, because they wanted to do it, but they didn't think it was possible to get the look, get the size, and still be a man in a sense. So the pushback, honestly, it's hard for me to, because I get that question often, but I don't get that pushback. I haven't actually gotten a pushback since, even still to this day. I still get more complimentary, more, man, I follow you, I'm not even vegan, but you're inspiring, and I think about doing it, I want to change it up a little bit. So.
What about the 300-pound vegan? And also, was that a challenge to maintain your weight and the strength?
Well, all right, so I'll answer that first. So, it was difficult. I just had to learn how to do it because I didn't know. I was used to, I was brainwashed and thought that meat was the only form of protein. So that's what I would eat. When I just figured out how to substitute that, where to get my protein from, where to get my carbohydrates from, it was really quite easy. I just needed to do the numbers, need to do the math, and it was that simple. And then, just know the best, ancient grains and legumes and all that stuff. We're not going to get into that later, but it gives the masculinity question. But, and then for that, we have to ask, what is masculinity? It's just basically a list of like these goals that men try to get, like I looked at a list of masculine traits, and it was something like rough, tough, red-blooded. Like, what is it? Like, there are plenty of tough women everywhere. Like, these are just vague descriptions. Anyways, but and then you say that a lot of guys are afraid of going vegan because it challenges their masculinity, and it's just basically it's just all there. It's just they're really insecure. Is what it is. It's big insecurities, and they're trying to. If anyone's seen this documentary called The Masculine Man, The Masculine Man, yeah, and so we're trying to fit into that, and then we think that, we have to eat meat in order to be a man, red blood, all that stuff, or this is when you need testosterone, when the reality is that vegan men have higher testosterone levels than meat eaters. So, it's like, you need to, it's ignorance as well. It's a whole bunch of things together. They think they're challenging they're afraid to challenge their masculinity, but really they're afraid to try something new. And they've been listening to what everyone's been telling them in the past.
Yeah,
So,
great. Yeah, great. Torre, Dominick, I have a question for you. That's, you have an unbelievable following. I mean, unbelievable.
It's a reason behind that, So if you back up a little bit, about 4 to 5 years ago when Instagram first came out, you had all these plant-based athletes out there, all these people, but they wasn't speaking about vegan. I came on the scene as was like, excuse my language, but fuck that. I want to talk about what's really happening to these animals. And I was one of the, I don't know anyone else that was doing it, but I started educating people why I went vegan for ethical reasons. I was so far removed from the health side, I just didn't care. I just wanted to get out there and to tell people about it. And I was already vegan. I've been vegan now for 6 years. Prior to that, vegetarian 10 years. So it's been about 16 years since I had meat. But I was always advocating for animals, even when I went vegetarian. But I thought it was important to get this information out there. And I think people kind of appreciated that. And for here I am. I'm not a skinny, middle-aged white guy that run ultra marathons. I'm totally the opposite. Totally the opposite. Come from a very different background, west side of Chicago. Cliche stuff, raised by a single parent, a single mother. And women are the strongest human beings on this world. They are. And I think her values and what she taught me kind of went into me where like, why do you care what people think about you? I don't care. I don't care what no dudes think about me because, I think you can look at me. I'm just a no-nonsense dude when it comes to stuff that I care about. So like Torre, I don't have pushback. I don't get challenges from guys and stuff like that. And if I do, we'll cross that bridge then.
So, Dominick, because this is about activism. The whole idea of this conference is also about encouraging people to go out there and spread the word. not just the secret vegans. So what advice would you have for the audience
That's very
to
true.
build that base, to build that following?
I don't think the focus should be about building, it's just, you know, it should just be about educating what you have in your network of followers, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just speak about it, you know, don't be that hostile being like Torre said, but I think what the problem happens is, you know, it's just like anything. You get new information and you feel like you've been, you know, had and you've been tricked and fooled. You want to go out there and run and tell everybody the real information. So I think that's why new vegans like, yo, you can't believe this. Let me tell you. You know? Like they found the gold mine and, you know, like, yeah, that's been happening for a while. You know, so listen, I think it's great. They bring energy to the table, actually. When new vegans come around, especially the ones that already have a bigger following, and they cut that switch on and put it in their bio vegan, it helps the world. And I think that's important for you millennials out there and you people that are on social media. Be proud, you know, put the vegan words or whatever, screw the plant-based words, just put vegan up there. It means so much more, it's so much stronger than plant-based. Take the profile on private, okay, and just show people what you're about. Like, don't be scared. We need to get this information out there. And the more people know, the better. So I think that's one of the most important things to do. Just educate, be assertive, don't be aggressive, and hit them with data, hit them with numbers, information, you know. And you know, tag David, tag Torre, tag me, whoever. Tag guys that are, you know, producing and thriving off of this diet.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Because I have seen vegans who start from a plant-based perspective, and I know personally some of them who are a little bit kind of scared to really talk about the ethics of veganism, and that's why, you know, you just go out there, you just tell it like it is, which is really, really nice. So I want to ask a fun question because I know some people want to know, what do you eat? What's like an average sort of day for you with regards to eating?
All right, so mine is a little bit different. When I'm training and trying to gain weight to be 300 pounds, I'm gonna do it soon. It's called Operation Weight Gain, and I love it. So right now I'm 280. I'm gonna be 300. So I'll try to eat 8,000 to 10,000 calories a day. It's crazy, but most of the time I'm just drinking a lot of my stuff. Like I'll make smoothies, get really creative with my smoothies. A lot of times, you know, it takes a lot of practice because you're putting beans and stuff, trying to figure out how to make beans and mix with fruit and make it tasty. But
so
anyway.
who's the cook in the house?
So I cook.
Or somebody else?
I cook for myself because I have to, but my wife does the real cooking because she's an amazing cook. I just cook because she's not gonna cook for me all the time, and I gotta eat. But anyway, so I do a lot of stuff like nachos. This is stuff I make, nachos or burritos or something like that. I make a lot of vegan tacos, but I use stuff like on the inside I use lentils instead of or something like that, or I'll use for my nachos I'll use rice and beans, and I'll do a cashew cheese with nutritional yeast, and I'll do stuff like that, and I incorporate a lot of things like hemp proteins and flax seeds and stuff like that because those have their high in omega fatty acids as well, and that helps with inflammation and all that stuff. And the hemp protein is just, I think, the best form of protein out there. I see a lot of benefits with it. So I do stuff like that, and I try to keep it, when I'm training, I try to keep it like as whole foods as possible because the processed foods they're a good conversion tool for getting people who are not meat eaters to come over and see, you have options. But, for trying to keep it clean and trying to, perform and stuff, I think the best thing to do is be plant-based whole foods.
Dominick?
Yeah, I agree with David. He's right, and that's actually bring up a good point. I was having this conversation with the owner of Sun Cafe, Ron.
Yeah.
It's important, especially when you do have a platform, even a small platform. I can post very healthy meals and stuff like that, but I think it's important for the non-vegans out there for them to see that pretty much 99% of what you're used to eating in the typical Western American diet can be vegan. So that's from time to time you see posts this looks like it's gonna be put you to sleep type of vegan sandwich. Yeah, it's gonna give you the itis, what we call the itis. It's definitely gonna put you to sleep. But I think it's important to show them that you can have the cookies, you can have the cheeseburgers, the guy rolls hit me from the Midwest, and China Beast hit me from the Midwest, the vegan hot dogs. That's good stuff because at the end of the day, we can pull them over quicker when they are used to comfort food, you know, and the sooner we can get people over, the less animals are being destroyed. Because sometimes when you look at some of the more healthier options, people look at it like, especially the guys, it's not going to stick to my ribs, you know, I need something, I need a steak. But you show them like a tofu style steak and you know, cut it open and they eat it and taste it, and they're like, wow, that's pretty good now. So I think that's important to show them good balance out there. And in terms of what I do consume, it depends on if I'm training for, you know, an Ironman triathlon competition or a marathon. But typically from the springtime all the way up to the fall, I'm primarily like raw. You know, I'm primarily raw vegan. In general, I'm primarily raw vegan, but I do a lot. You guys see it. You see it all the time on my feed. Just smoothies, green smoothies, watermelon, all of that stuff because I'm a very busy person, so for me, that's my food on the go. You know, I can dump it in my blend tech, mix different formulas that work for me to perform in different settings. So I have a whole list of different formulas that I use for different style of training. So for me, it's really just me blending raw fruits together with no nothing, no supplements, no water, nothing like that. And that's primarily my diet when it comes to performance.
Do you use protein powder?
I don't use protein powder at all. From time to time, I would add hemp seeds and stuff like that, but yeah, I don't use protein powder.
What about if you were, well, actually, I want to ask you that question as well. If you were to gain muscle.
Yeah,
like
let me back up a little bit. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off,
No,
but
it's okay.
you know, I know, listen, protein powder can be dangerous, but don't shy away from it because it's a good product for transitioning for people that just need that quick on-the-go mix and stuff like that. And it has its pros and it has its cons. So I don't want to, just because I don't take protein powder doesn't mean that something's wrong with that in that respect.
I'm like total opposite of what you just heard. Yes, I'll answer that question too. I don't do protein powders. I don't, in my opinion, but I never push anyone away from it. If that's what they want to do, they may ask me, hey, what's a good protein powder when it comes to vegan? I don't take any, but here's some you can look into. That's just me. And I've never really seen the benefit of it for building muscle. I built muscle all my life without it. And before protein came into the picture, the protein powder, all of this protein this, now they have protein in 5-hour energy shots. So protein is huge now. It's an industry, it's $1 billion industry. So, but when it comes to what I eat, if it's vegan, I eat it. So, I'm really not that person that's gonna be like, you're not raw vegan? You're not a real vegan. That's called separation.
Yeah.
And we're here to fight division and separation. It's enough of that. So I was raised, I'm gonna say a 3-letter word that some people consider a curse word. I was raised on soy. Soy was the thing that got me to where I am right now. I don't have women breasts, or not a lot of estrogen, or what have you.
That's the cow's milk.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I eat it today. I still eat it, so I eat, like I said earlier, if it's vegan, I eat it. And I can still get on stage and make a meat eater look like he didn't train one day at all. So it's really how you do it. And so one thing that I'm learning to do now is how to educate people on that aspect, because a lot of times the misinformation is disseminated to the masses because they want to push you away from going plant-based, vegan, or what have you, because this animal industry is huge and they need to get rid of this. It's a machine, so I have to keep going. And if you're not taking part in this machine, I'm always the friction against that wheel. If that wheel is moving, that friction causes it to move, right, or it breaks it down. So I look at myself as being that way. So I've just considered to just eat the way I do. And soy, seitan, I do raw, I do smoothies, my smoothies are like Dom's. I put it would be greens, it would be fruit, things like that. I don't have shakes and stuff put in to make it more protein in it, because I realize that 99.9% of the vegetation on this planet has protein in it.
So so you're able, because from what I read, if you're building muscle, they say you need 1.5 to 2 kilograms of protein per body weight. Is that correct?
That's what they say, and
Right.
I have never tracked my protein. Never tracked it, and if
Now
I looked at it, if I looked at my protein, I don't know, maybe 50, 80 grams at the most. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, and I don't even, you talk about calories, I don't even count the calories, so it's more so, I just eat. I eat, and I can eat and pay attention to how I want to look, and that's it, and done.
Okay. Do any of you adhere to that strictly? I know everyone's different.
I totally agree with him. I don't count calories either. I have an idea, what I can, but also I probably get about 50 grams to 75 grams of protein a day, if that.
Wow,
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, really. So it's, again, it's just what we've been conditioned by marketers to believe what's important, and we've just been really misinformed and miseducated about that. So.
It's my mic on here, so I'm cutting it off. But talk too much. But so no, I don't count protein. I just count calories. I count calories because I'm trying to a lot of times gain like massive amounts of weight. So that's where I get that's my key in getting calories. But protein, I don't really count it. I used to in the beginning, but now not anymore. Just just didn't need to really. It just comes.
But like you said, just to add, when I work with people who ask me for help to get show ready or what have you,
Yeah.
sometimes people need direction, and they need their hand held a little bit in order to understand how to become more intuitive with their body and their design. Because coming from an engineering standpoint, I'm now into engineering bodies and physiques. Engineering bodies, engineering physiques, making them look the way people want to look when they get on stage. So when it comes to that, I start out with helping them calculate their calories. That way, once you are doing it over time, you understand your portion. You understand how much you're going to eat. You understand what's on that plate. You understand when you go to a restaurant what you're going to eat. Because I still get that to this day of people that I work with. If I go eat, how do I know if they don't worry about it? If you've already had your meals throughout your day and you go to the restaurant, just enjoy it.
So part of this conference is to understand the importance of intersecting issues like race and class with regards to when we're doing vegan outreach. So my question to you, I know, Torre, you and I had a discussion where you went to Canada. Can you share that experience? You said you met an African-American man that responded. So my question is, how do you incorporating or being cognizant of the idea or the reality that race and class is a factor when it comes to vegan outreach? In your experiences, like what kinds of either personal experience or how you do your outreach? I know, Torre, you have personal experience.
Yeah,
and also with respect to Black Lives Matter as well.
That's a tough question. It's kind of emotional too, in a sense. I mentioned Tuskegee University, and Tuskegee has a rich heritage.
And Canada as well. Remember when you told
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
going to relate it in the sense that where Canada came from is how my mind was created more through this experiment. Through the experience I had at Tuskegee University, because Tuskegee is a historically Black college. The rich heritage, the history, the professors that I interacted with who wanted you to challenge your mind and to read, and then read some more, and to think more independently, which we tend to not think independently. We think based on what we've been dictated to, and we use those words, and we think they're our own, but not necessarily. Getting to your point with Canada, I went to Canada as far as the vegan outreach. when it comes to Black Lives Matter or what have you, again, that's another label that we talked about, characteristic Black. But when I was in Canada for the vigil, I encountered a gentleman who saw what I was wearing on my shirt, which said Toronto Pig Sale.
Do you want to explain what visual is?
Yeah, vigil is basically, if you don't understand, it's when you are there to watch the animals being brought to slaughter. And so basically what our purpose there is to bear witness to their plight to that next place, in a sense. And one of the reasons that I went also was, taking it back to the slave trade, I wasn't there for slavery, but I understand what happened, and to this day I'm still learning more about what happened. And so it's kind of seeing these animals being enslaved and then slaughtered for mass consumption for our survival, for human survival, not my survival, but human survival. So that's what a vigil is. Vigil is basically put. Of course, people can make it more descriptive, what have you, but sometimes I'm real simple when it comes to how I want to explain things. So with that being said, the individual I encountered was a gentleman who saw my shirt, had a pig on there, and of course, if you remember the Jamaican culture, Rastafari, this guy was Jamaican, and there was a guy in the truck who asked me what I'm doing, and I said I'm here, supporting the visual, what have you. And then the next gentleman came down and said, "Yo, Rasta, what are you doing, man? Those people are my enemy. What are you doing for me?" And I looked and said, "What do you mean, what am I doing for you?" His question, what am I doing for him, is because he considers us as the people, the Black people, that I'm not standing up for our plight in this country, what we go through, and things of that nature.
Was this a mostly white space, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but the workers within the factory were mostly African American, or Canada, African. And so that interaction was a little disheartening for me, because I totally couldn't know where you come from, because I understand that outreach. That outreach is touchy, because then you have people who look at you like, "Oh, he's just Black power, all about Black." And that's not necessarily true. There's a misunderstanding when it comes to that, as to what you're really doing on this earth to bring compassion. So with my outreach is really about diversifying, bringing people together more, compassion. That's why I don't look at it as the labels of segregating this one for being raw vegan or this vegan or what have you. So all in all, that interaction kind of made me kind of step back and rethink what I'm doing when it comes to the vegan outreach. How am I affecting not just, because the animals are enslaved in a sense, they don't really understand.
Yeah.
They have no idea. But of course, Africans knew they were enslaved, but they really had no unity to fight back in a sense, because they weren't, Africa's a culture of not, in the past, it wasn't designed to be warrior in a different sense, but not in the sense of the way it turned out. I hope you kind of understand what I'm saying.
Yes, so what if it was all Black folks out there doing the same thing? Would that have been a different dynamic, or with the gentleman that
Yes,
responded?
in my opinion, I feel so, because then he would want to more identify what we're doing,
Right.
versus, and that's where we talked about earlier, the hostility and the anger towards factory workers.
Right.
Those factory workers, believe it or not, most of the time, they're not there saying, "Oh, I'm about to kill this animal." Their thing is, okay, my family needs to eat tomorrow. I need to pay my bills.
Right.
And so I may not like what I'm doing, but I'm here because this is a job right now.
Right.
And unfortunately, they're part of that system.
Right. So you have a dynamic where you have mostly white people in a system where racism, i.e. more specific white supremacy, still exists. Their group membership, they belong to the Dominick group. We know that we don't live in a colorblind society, but mainstream white society tells us that we're overreacting. So in outreach, we have to consider our position when we're doing activism. Regardless of how we feel personally, it's about what it looks like, and if we're doing outreach, we have to be sensitive of that. So as you said, the dynamics would be different if it was mostly white people. You know, I used to do that even before I was vegan. Betty White, she used to come up with the little dogs, and we used to be like, oh, you know, white folks, they just love dogs because, you know, they don't want to deal with the real issues, which is racism and so on. So, you know, they're animal rights activists. So, of course, I also know that that was my excuse of not being vegan. But there is a dynamic to who is actually doing activism and in what spaces, and if it's a mostly white or if it's a diverse group or mostly people of color, which I think is a good example of what you said. I think this gentleman would have probably been, by default, understood that it wasn't that you were just being one-sided.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's something I think it's important for us to think about. David, I know you can talk literally for 2 hours about this topic. So we know that. So I just want to kind of talk a little bit, about it.
So I'm gonna keep it short. So for me, my activism is, I'm all about the animals. I love the animals. But like you said, for people of color, it's harder for them who are not vegan, it's harder for them to see it in a way because, like you said, they are definitely in survival mode. We have to look at the history of this country and not just the history, but the present, what's going on right now. And so people are, like I said, people of color, like for example, black people or African Americans, whatever title you choose to use, are 17% of the population, but we're the #1 sufferers of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, cancer, obesity, all of these things. And Latinos, it's the same thing. And it just goes for all the races of color, we're all of the sufferers of these diseases. And you wonder why. And then you look at how the society is structured. We have, back in the day, they had something, I'll make it really quick, I'm trying to make it fast. They had the racial zoning, that's what they call it, it's called red zoning now, or redlining. And they use that to structure the neighborhood. That's why we have these things called food deserts. It's not really food desert, because a desert is like the Sahara Desert or something that's God-made, right? These are man-made, systematically underserved areas. So these are in these fast food companies, McDonald's and all these companies, they're the #1 purchaser of animal products in the world, right? And they're targeted, they're making 85% of their profit off of people of color. That's why they advertise. They let out a report last year, trying to make it fast. A report last year, by 2020, they're going to advertise, them and Pepsi, 85% of their marketing is going to go to youth of color. So this is why the advocacy of vegan, they're trying to make their dollar off of people of color.
Yep.
So we have to educate ourselves and spread this vegan message, plant-based message, whatever you want to call it. The healthy message needs to get out there because not only are we saving youth of color, people of color, we're saving animals simultaneously. So,
right.
And that's what in history, slaves were considered lesser than animals. So when you think of that, they're looking at, why are you working on this animal when I was considered less than that animal? The animal at the table before I was. So that mindset is also in this as well.
Yes, yes. We are going to go over, because we want to give you guys the amount of time that you're here for, to maximize your time and the audience time. So we're going to have some questions. And please keep it to one question. We don't want to dominate one person to dominate everything. This is about community.
So you guys are talking about, so basically this conference is about people of color being vegan. And so I tell my friends, oh, I'm vegetarian, and then they tell me, oh, well, aren't you Mexican? I'm like, yeah, I'm Mexican. They're like, and they tell me, oh, don't you miss eating chicken quesadillas and all of that good stuff that they supposedly say is good. Well, I tell them that no, I don't miss it because it's harming other animals. Has that experience happened to you guys at all?
Good question.
I love that little dude, man. He's so great. His public speaking is hard, and he's doing it at his age. But anyways, keep it up. All right. So to answer your question, first of all, if you look at study the history of your people in Mexican cuisine, then you see that, cheese is not even indigenous to the Mexican diet. So they don't know anything about it, So, hey, just you can tell them with that, and then they'll feel stupid about themselves. And then, pushback, yeah, man, just let people know that, like, I choose to do this. This is my personal choice. You choose to eat meat for whatever reason. I'd rather eat vegetables. That's my choice. It's my life choice. You do you, I'm going to do me. And just leave it at that.
Okay, great. Next question.
Hi, my name is Craig. I identify pescatarian.
What's up, Craig?
55 years of age, a lot of body issues. You guys were the reason why I came.
Hi, my name is Joshing. Excuse my voice, I'm a little sick, but nonetheless, I'm happy to be here. First conference, Students of Color, very thankful. Thank you very much for hosting us here. Very necessary, timely as well. Nonetheless, I'm Joseph's aunt. My question to you guys, as identified males, so far as I know, youth, when it comes down to youth, I think we need a lot of support and a lot of mentors. I know we have different mentors, diverse group of mentors, that being those in different professions, but more specifically youth like my nephew, and I'm targeting my nephew because he's Samel. He identifies as a little boy, misunderstood to a certain extent, female identifying as a woman, and the thing is it's challenging for me to address certain concerns that he has as a little boy, or in general, little girls too, right? Whatever they identify with again. Is there anything in the making, or in maybe in the future, in the long run, that you guys are considering starting up youth-led group for children that are interested, opening up that avenue for children that are interested in veganism, or being vegetarian for that matter? A journey, inviting them to that space. So I would greatly appreciate any comments or ideas you guys might have.
Yeah, I actually am working on that through Crazies and Weirdos, and I'm gonna tell you, like I tell every other parent that DM me and stuff like that, if your child or someone you know is having a problem, call me. I give you my information. In fact, this morning, a mother texted me about because her daughters used to they go to my high school, they're endurance athletes, and they get pushed back all the time, but her son's in college, and he's having pushback with his roommate and stuff like that. He's having a real hard time adjusting to college life because he's only vegan, he can't find friends up there. So basically what I'm saying is when it comes to the youth, I take that very seriously. So, if you need me to speak to them directly and to tell them, what I feel about that, in a PG setting and how they can, go about thriving in that environment, all means, just send me a direct message. I have no problem getting on the phone with any kids to talk to them about that. And if they're in my region, I'll visit them, or they can come visit me. So.
One more question?
Hi,
I'm sorry, I apologize for my question.
I try to
more for Torre. You mentioned the Seventh-day Adventists, that they are vegetarians, and I only found that out because I had a professor who was a bit, he talked about it all the time. And I got my sister and her entire family, actually, they went vegan after I told them that that was in the Bible, that the Seventh-day Adventists follow it. I'm not religious and I'm not Christian, but it put a light bulb in my head. There's a lot of Christians out there, and other religions, of course, but do you know specifically passages in the Bible that speak to that we're to care for the animals and not eat them? Because it's a pretty powerful tool. People who read the Bible and are Christians, that is their life. And to show them, hey, look, God says.
That is such a tough discussion because, you know, when it comes to religion, which to me, I consider religion, I can be a former president in a sense. I'm not religious either. I typically, I almost kind of keep those to myself when it comes to sharing things of that nature. Because they say there's three things you don't talk about: politics, religion, and the other one is like what? Money. So, and I don't know offhand, you know, that I can give to you, but I'm sure I could, you know, if you contact me, I can find out for you and give it to you. That way you can have it as part of your discussion with other people. Because it's when you get in discussions when it comes to that, both parties need to be objective. And what tends to happen, it becomes emotional. And that emotional charge will block out any thought process of wanting to understand. Because, you know, most people, we speak with the purpose to not understand. If we don't seek to understand, we want to be understood. And so when it comes to religion, it's hard to get people to really discourse on a level that makes us both want to understand each other. But that's actually pretty good. I think we'll talk later about that. Good idea.
Thank you so much. We are so happy you're here. I know I'm thrilled and I'm happy. Really, really, I'm like, wow. So we're going to take a break. Can we be back here in 5 minutes? Is that okay? The rest of the over there. So we'll